Welcome back, College Baseball Central fans. This is the weekend rotation, as many of you know, joining us every single Saturday now for 4 years running. I get AJ Sessions back today. AJ, how we doing, man? Been a while since you've been on the weekend rotation. Happy to have you back, man.
I couldn't miss it. Start of SEC play. Weather's beautiful outside. It feels like baseball season now. Like everyone's fully into it. Had to hop on.
It's baseball season in Oregon. It's 34 and rainy in the valley, and I'm getting snow here. So, of course, we're doing baseball season in mid March. But, man, I'm jealous of that weather down there. I am so excited for today's show. SEC opens up. We had some great ACC matchups, Big 10, Big 12. Every conference is going. Cannot wait for this one. Let's just jump right into Arkansas versus Ole Miss. Arkansas 6, Ole Miss 10. Hunter Elliott now 4-0, 5 innings pitched, 8 strikeouts, 2 earned runs. Started off with the Federico home run, and the beer shower started and just never looked back there, AJ.
Yeah, and I saw the weather reports. I saw people, tweeting from the stadium of like winds gusting out at like 25 to 30 miles an hour straight out to left field. And with how Arkansas has been hitting recently, you've been thinking that, Iredale, the Eloy brothers, both would get into it. And what a job by Hunter Elliott holding those
Yeah.
guys in the ballpark. Ole Miss able to get a few up in the jet stream, some that wind could have been blowing in 20 and it still would have gotten out. Zach Root didn't have his best day, but Ole Miss very, very impressive to be able to hold down what had been a pretty hot Arkansas offense.
Absolutely. I mean, Hunter Elliott is back, folks. I mean, we talked about it in the preseason. We're like, hey, if this guy can be elite like he was a couple of years ago, and he's shown up and he's shown out there for this Ole Miss team, and getting that first win at home is huge. Mitchell Stanford goes with 3 for 4 with 4 RBIs and a home run. Also, just a big day for Ole Miss offense. Zach Root, like you mentioned, not his best day. 3 innings pitched, 7 earned runs. The Friday night starts haven't been there for Arkansas yet. I think that they will get there. I think we believe in this pitching staff, but they just have been really surprising. Davalin and Maxwell home runs are not enough, and like you mentioned, it wasn't Iredell, it wasn't the Eloy boys. Uh, Arkansas can come back and win this series still, but it's one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's, watching the game, it was okay. Zach Root, some of the balls were hit very hard. Some of it was bad luck. It seemed like nothing was going his way. But that's kind of been, the story for Arkansas Friday starts, like you said. It's been, bloop single here, play not made here, and then it all, 3-run bomb or a big extra base hit to make it really hurt. And that's what Ole Miss did yesterday, and they just kept adding on and adding on.
Yeah, they took advantage when they needed to. Big time win there for Ole Miss at home to start off SEC play. Let's jump over to an ACC doubleheader because they're not playing today. UNC and Louisville, they got some weather coming through there. They didn't want to get that game rained out, so they played a doubleheader yesterday. The first game 7 UNC, Louisville 8. Second game UNC wins 6-4, so they split. Game 1 Zion Rose homered, and then Stokely and Black homer to give UNC the lead back, but a grand slam from Lucas Moore ties it, and an unearned run would be enough as Eberly and Biven go 4 scoreless there for Louisville to end that first game.
Yeah, I mean, Louisville's a team that I think is pretty considered to be, fringe top 25. Some people have them in the, 20 to 25 range. Some people have them
Yeah.
just sitting outside. Very good team. You look at UNC and it's kind of like, okay, they've gotten off to a slower start in ACC play than many people expected with that roster. A lot of people, including myself, had them, tagged as a preseason Omaha pick.
Yeah.
But they've played good competition. So it's not like they are, losing to lesser opponents who it should be, they should be handling. But it's seeing the lack of consistency kind of on the pitching side. We kind of thought that pitching would be the strength of this North Carolina team. The starting
Yeah.
pitching is deep, the bullpen is deep, and it seems like they're just getting nickeled and dimed. And
Yeah.
it's hard to continue to score 7-8 runs, especially against a great pitching league like the ACC.
Yeah, and on Friday nights you'd think, oh, DeCaro, he's a dude. He's been a Friday night guy before. He's going to come out there and dominate ACC. Didn't do it against Stanford. Didn't do it yesterday against Louisville. It's just kind of surprising to see that kind of going on. But I think that UNC has the arms to be fine. I think that they're fine. And like you mentioned, they're playing 2 top 25 teams realistically. Louisville, whether they're in your top 25 or fringe, you can consider them a good team, and Stanford should be in your top 15 right now. So you're talking about, 2 teams out there in the ACC that are very good, and traveling on the road is never easy to win in this conference. So tough to get that first loss, but they came back and won the second game there. They go up 3 on the Stokely home run and then 5 on the Gallagher home run. Really, the difference though was Jake Knapp. He goes 7 innings pitched, just 1 earned run and 8 Ks there for UNC in that second game.
Yeah, Knapp has been kind of their best pitcher throughout the year. Like DeCaro, he had some great starts before conference play, but conference play's kind of bit him a little bit. I mean, Jake sitting there with a 2.16 ERA. He has a complete game this year, just really kind of being the ace that we thought maybe DeCaro would be, but also thought North Carolina had 2 or 3 aces. So he's just kind of being himself and filling that role. And that's exactly what they need right now, especially if, they drop game 1. You need someone to be that stopper in game 2. And that's, beautifully executed by Knapp.
Yeah, he shuts down Stanford, shuts down Louisville, does exactly what they need to win the second game. Now they're going to play the third game on Sunday. There's a reason, folks, why I had Jake Knapp as my comeback player of the year this year. He has this ability to. He is really a Friday night ace that's pitching on Saturday for UNC, which is such a luxury for them. Going to be great to see them going down the stretch here, but good day for Jake Knapp. Now we'll see this game on Sunday, so we get no game there today. Florida and Tennessee, we get this one today, though. 3 Florida, 5 Tennessee. Kind of a surprising game where you didn't have a ton of offense in this one from 2 teams that have been putting up a ton of runs. Only 7 hits for Tennessee, but timely ones. As Abernathy single in the first. Blake Sear gets the home run for Florida to tie it up in the bottom of the 4th. And then Hunter Inslee, the 2 RBI double, and Gavin Keelan scores on a wild pitch, and then he hits a sac fly later. It was a good back and forth baseball game that we want to see from a top 10 matchup here in the SEC.
Yeah, it was one of those games where, you might expect fireworks, but you also look at the starting pitching on both sides and you're like, okay, this could be a 1-0 game. But then you look up in the 5th and both of the starters are pushing their pitch limits, and you quickly realize that, okay, this is going to turn into kind of a bullpen game. Like, yes, the starters did really well, but what are the bullpens going to do? And there was a point where it looked like Tennessee was kind of on the ropes. Florida was trailing, but then they got the bases loaded, nobody out. And it was, what are you going to do? How are you going to hold on to this lead? It's 4-3, 1 out. And then there was the interference play. And
it's crazy.
And that ended the inning. That kind of ended the momentum. And you felt just the Florida kind of feel like that was their shot against Nate Snead. And Snead just kind of shoved the rest of the way out. They tacked on an insurance run. Turns out they didn't even need that. We know both these rosters have really good offenses and really good pitching. So I really wasn't surprised to see a 5-3 game 1. If it's game 3, I would be a little bit more surprised. But yeah, it's going to be a very, very well played series the entire time.
Yeah, Liam Doyle, Liam Peterson, 2 very, very good Friday night aces. They both have been very good this season. Doyle got just a little bit better than Peterson on the day, and really the difference, though, like you mentioned, was Snead with the 3.2 and 2 hits and 4 Ks. Going that long time for the save is just the big difference there for them getting that one. Notre Dame 1, Clemson 2. Not a lot of offense at all in this one, AJ, but Aiden Knack goes 7 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, and 12 Ks. Man, he looked the part.
Yeah, and it's not your stereotypical Friday night ace. Yes, he does have pretty good fastball velo, but his changeup is his best pitch, and he had that work, and he had them chasing it. Start at the knees and drop, and it was. He was almost unhittable the entire night. It was, you felt like 2 runs after you kind of watched the first couple innings. You're like, okay, if Clemson can get 2 runs, that they got this one handled, and they got 2 runs, and they got that one handled.
Yeah, he threw the changeup like 40%, and they knew it was coming and still couldn't hit it. That's when you know that a pitch is that dominant, when you know it's coming.
It is the exact same arm slot, the exact same arm speed, and it's so deceptive, and it's unreal that even if you're sitting on a pitch, to not be able to hit it. It kind of reminds me of a Chris Veach changeup last year of hey, we know this guy throws this pitch 40 to 60% of the time. Why can't nobody hit it? Well, it's because it's that good and its spin is that elite, and you're just psych yourself out, and you can't do that with a changeup, and you can't do that against a good pitcher who knows how to pitch and knows how to execute. And oh, by the way, if you're really sitting on that changeup, here's 94 at the letters. Good luck touching that. And he just carved people up the entire day.
Yeah, the 3,000 spin rate changeup just dropping out of the zone, and then you come back with a high fastball. No chance for those poor Notre Dame hitters.
Yeah, unreal. Have a seat.
Yeah. Payno gets the RBI single. Jarrell gets an RBI single, and that was just really enough just on those 5 hits there. Notre Dame got 1 back in the 9th, and they started making a push for it. They just couldn't climb all the way back, but a really good performance there by Aiden Knack. Texas getting some SEC play, AJ. They win this one 8-7 over Mississippi State at Mississippi State. 15 straight wins now for Texas. The Galvin 2-run home run there to start. A pair of home runs from Sullivan and Highfield give the Bulldogs the lead where they came all the way back. Highfield also gets another RBI later in this game. What really was the turning point was the seventh inning with the Gasparino single, the Galvin single, and then the Borba 3-run home run that took the lead there. That was pretty much the end of it there. As Mississippi State does get two in the ninth, but a really good baseball game.
Yeah, really, really good baseball game. There were a couple different points where you felt like both teams had it in the bag. Like going into the seventh inning, you were like Mississippi State's in control. Then Texas stages that rally, takes the lead, and feels like a commanding lead. And then Mississippi State comes within about 2.5 feet of tying the game. Instead, it's a double off the wall, and instead of having the tying 3-run homer, it's now you're trailing by 1 with guy on second, 2 outs. So really well played game. I kind of exactly what we expected from this series. Texas may have been the favorites coming in, but going into Starkville is never an easy place to play. No. Mississippi State is a very good baseball team. It's definitely one that I have my eye on the entire weekend.
Yeah, and just really smoked that ball, and I think everybody watching is like we were all leaning like, is it gonna get out of here? But big win there for Texas, and like I said, 15 straight for Texas. Their only loss is Louisville in extra innings in a walk-off fashion. And you're like, oh, you look back at that one, that's not a bad loss now when you look back at it. UCF 7, BYU 8. Now this one started on Thursday, so UCF took the first game 9-8. They lose this one 7-8 in walk-off fashion in extra innings. But UCF did score 5 in the ninth to take the lead. But they gave up a homer in the bottom of the ninth to Vest, and then they lose on the walk-off single by Anderson in the 10th. And Ashton Johnson comes out and just shoves in the 10th inning against UCF. They're getting 3 straight strikeouts, AJ.
I mean, these are two teams that have kind of been flying under the radar, more BYU than UCF. Like UCF has a couple high-profile wins. Like they beat Florida. They're kind of more known because they're located in Florida and it's baseball country. BYU, I mean, they have quietly had a very good start to their season. They're sitting right now at 11-6, but they have some really quality wins and going toe-to-toe with this very talented UCF team bodes very well for how BYU can play during their conference play.
Yeah, and BYU is a team that a lot of people had picked near the bottom of the Big 12. And I had UCF near the top, if not winning the Big 12. So this is a good win for them, even if it's at home, getting out there and getting that win. One of the most beautiful ballparks in the country, as we all know, loving to see the mountains in the background. But just a big win there and walk off in the 10th. You love to see it in college baseball. That one's going to finish up today, as all BYU series all year will be played Thursday through Saturday, folks. So if you're ever looking, if your team plays BYU, it will be a Thursday through Saturday series. Let's go back to the SEC. Missouri 5, LSU 12. This one actually felt a lot closer for a long part of this game here, AJ.
Because it was.
Yeah, Mizzou gets that home run to start it off, and then Hernandez hits a 2-run bomb in the bottom of the 4th, and then the 3 RBI triple there from Curiel, and Jake Brown comes in for Frey. He goes 2 for 2 with 4 RBIs. Pierre and Cerna hit home runs for Mizzou in the 8th. You're like, oh, something's brewing here. LSU answers, sac fly, Stephen Milam home run, and then Cade Anderson now quietly 4-0 on the season.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of felt like one of those games where, Mizzou gets the early 2-run home and they get the lead, and you're kind of like, okay, is this deja vu all over again for LSU? And then, they scratch back, they even it up. Curiel has that big, bases clearing triple. And from there, you kind of just saw the entire team take a deep breath and settle into the game. I truly does look like a more confident, more settled LSU team than last year. We all remember the start that they had last year was like 3-15 or 3-12 at conference at some point. Like it was rough. This isn't that team. It seems like they have the depth and the confidence in themselves to continue to play a high level of ball in conference. I was only really surprised to see it kind of be close early. I fully expect LSU to put up more double-digit run games the rest of this series, and the pitching staff's going to shove. There's just nothing that Mizzou offensively can do against the depth and talent of an LSU pitching staff this year.
No, and people ask me, they go, why did you have LSU ranked number 1 coming into the season in my preseason poll? It's the pitching depth, man. They're so deep pitching-wise, and, Doesn't matter whether you're playing them on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. You're going to get some good pitchers against you. And the thing has been, can they find enough offense? And that offense has really clicked, and it feels more confident. Like you said, they're comfortable up there. They're okay being down in counts. They're okay being down in baseball games. They feel like they can come back and win those games. This LSU team feels a lot different than last season's team, with a lot more confidence, a lot more comfortable being in these baseball games, and they showed it. And like I said, Kane Anderson 4-0 quietly on the season. It doesn't feel like anybody's mentioning him as this huge ace there for LSU, but he keeps winning ball games on Fridays for them, so good for him. Kentucky 6, Georgia 12. Kentucky scores 6 in the first 3 innings. Georgia just never feels out of it, AJ.
It's at some point you think it's going to have to catch up to them, but it seems like every game you tune into Georgia, it's like the third or fourth inning and they're down like 6-1 or 8-2, and you're like, what is happening? What is the starting pitching for Georgia? And it always seems to be, a bloop and a blast and an error, and then it just compiles and they have like a really bad defensive or pitching inning. And then the offense just goes, okay, we got it from here. And they do. Most of the time, that Georgia offense will slug them back into it. And you're right, they never feel like they're out of a game, because I can't say they're ever out of a game. With that lineup and how they're hitting, they're feeding the trees on a daily basis. It's unreal. It's very intimidating to be an opposing pitcher, looking up and having a 6-1 lead. And then you look up 3 batters later and it's a 6-4 lead, and you haven't gotten an out, and you're like, this could continue to get a lot worse. And it usually does. That Georgia offense is relentless.
It's crazy because you're like, oh, Sabarowski hits another home run. Boom, ties in the 6th. You're like, all right, we're still in this. And then all of a sudden, Burnett comes up, gets an RBI single, and then Hunter hits a home run. And then Burnett hits a home run, 3-run bomb the next, and you're like, all of a sudden, you're down 6 runs, and you don't even know what happened. It just hits you so fast. The big thing in this one, Georgia's bullpen going 8 2/3, allowing just 4 hits. That was really the turning point after the 3-run home run there for Kentucky in the first, and then just made the change early. Wes Johnson said, "Hey, we're going to go bullpen on this one," and they really shut it down.
Yeah, Wes Johnson, we knew him as a pitching first guy. I think that's why it's kind of been surprising that the staff seems to have trouble early on in games. I don't know if it's a player specific thing. I don't know if it's a preparation before the game needs to change to whatever to lock in earlier. I don't know. Sometimes it's just baseball being baseball, but for whatever reason, whenever that happens, the bullpen always seems like it can pick up the starter, and you need that complementary style of baseball.
Yeah, it's been just good for Georgia to keep finding ways to win. It's been a lot with the offense. I believe that Wes Johnson's going to get this team going the right direction pitching wise. The bullpen is just good enough to keep getting them in positions to win. No bullpen need in this next one. Virginia Tech 1, NC State 11. Dominic Fritton gives up 1 in the first, and you're like, oh, which Fritton are we getting today? He can be so freaking good, and he can have days where if you get to him early, that's how you get to him. They didn't get enough, because then he goes 7 innings and just shuts it down for the rest of the way. 2 hits only. The 1 runs in that complete game is a 10-run, that one. Alex Sosa, 2 RBIs, 2 for 4. McHugh and Ty Head both go home runs there in this one. 15 hits for the Pack, man. This feels like the NC State team that a lot of us had going back to Omaha.
Yeah, and you start the season, 3-0, and then you lose 5 straight, and then it's like, okay, this isn't the NC State team that we thought we would see. And quietly now, that's 10 in a row that they've won.
Yeah.
And dominating fashion against a Virginia Tech team that I think a lot of people had pegged to, have a good weekend against NC State, kind of stake their claim as, hey, we're back this year. Virginia Tech kind of struggled last year. This could potentially be a point to make some noise against a team that, went to a super regional last year. It was, kind of had everything laid out there for like, oh, Virginia Tech, here they come. And then NC State was just like, yeah, no, we're still here. We're still dominant. And we got guys who can shut you down. And we got an offense that can blow you off the field. And we saw both of those things yesterday in spades.
The crazy thing for me is now Vodtech has to deal with the best bullpen in the ACC that didn't have to throw a single inning yesterday. Yeah. So they get all their bullets for the next 2 games.
Yeah.
Not
good
fun.
Luck.
Yeah, not super fun in that
in
one.
A doubleheader too. Like, you would want to try to get into some of that, but to have your entire bullpen available for a doubleheader is just, especially that bullpen available for a doubleheader, is just, it feels like an embarrassment of riches.
It's not your favorite day now. It's not. You wanted to get into it a little bit last night, and Fritton was so good that didn't even have to use anybody. And you're like, oh, well, now we get to see all of that bullpen. Another great performance here in the ACC pitching wise. Tate McGee for Georgia Tech. They win 10-1. He is tough, man. He's been really good. He's been the biggest turning point, I think, for Georgia Tech this season has been him on that Friday night. He goes 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, holding Pitt to just 3 hits on the day. Drew Burris, of course, home run, 2 for 4, 4 RBIs. Curse, he goes 3 for 4 with 4 RBIs from the bottom of that lineup. I mean, Georgia Tech can hit, but the fact that their pitching has just rose to this new level is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there are a short list of combinations to where it's like, hey, I need these two guys to win me a game on the mound. That you'd go Tate McKee and Mason Patel. Like Mason Patel hasn't given up a run yet this year, and out of the bull, that's utterly insane. I think he has like 20 innings pitched, and 20 innings pitched, 6 hits, 17 strikeouts, no runs given up. He's 6-0, and then Tate McKee just continues to shove. It's and then on the offensive side of the ball, we just have Drew Burris and guys who up and down the lineup produce and rake and do damage. So this is kind of one of those teams that you better hope you see Mason Patel early on in the series and then try to get them on Saturday and Sunday, because it doesn't seem like you're going to get these guys on Friday very often.
No, and the more I look at this Georgia Tech team, they almost feel like Florida State last year, where we're like, okay, they have all these young pitchers, these sophomores that have grown up a little bit. They've got a year under their belt. They're really showing out and really pitching well and keeping these guys in the ballgame. And then when you have Drew Burris, who's one of the best players in the country, hitting 2 for you, it's crazy to see. And Lodi's sitting in front of him, and he's been getting on base and just making a mess for things. So I really like the direction this Georgia Tech team is going, and pitching has got to be the number one thing for them. All right. Folks, if you guys have not gone out and bought Chinook seeds yet, what are you doing with your life? They are the best sunflower seeds on the planet. I cannot stress this enough. I was not allowed to eat sunflower seeds this week, and it was my nightmare to not be able to have any sunflower seeds all week long because I was having a procedure done, so I was not allowed to have those in my belly. Man, I was broken. So today I'm going to break back out some sunflower seeds and get back after it. I think I'm going to start with some hatch chili and just destroy my stomach from day one because it's so good. And I'm just going to eat too many seeds today, AJ. Which one's your go-to? What's your go-to?
I mean, I always like a little bit of kick. The hatch chili are my go-to. I'm the kind of person who, if I have eggs, their hot sauce on it. If I have something, I need a little bit of spice. So the hatch chili definitely just scratches the itch for me. But you really can't go wrong with any of their seed flavors. You can give me their entire bundle, and if you have everyone pick their favorite flavors, whatever's left, I'm perfectly happy with.
Yeah, that's what I do when I give out seeds at the ballpark. I'm like, what do you guys? I don't care. I will take any of these 8 flavors. They're all terrific. People have been pushing hard for the cinnamon toast versus the hatch chili. 2 great flavors, but if I have a bag of jalapeno ranch, I'm just as happy. So you can put me in the stands. I'll be just as thrilled up there. And I've been telling all my fishing friends, I'm like, hey, I don't know what it is, the Parmesan and pepper. Those I hammer bass all day when I put those on there. I don't know if it's on the fishing line. I don't know if it's on the worms, but it's on my hands. It's just crushing, man. All right. CBC, use code CBC to get 10% off your entire Chinook seedery order. Go out there, go purchase some seeds, best seeds on the planet. They're also the big sponsor for the Golden Spikes Award this year. Big partner there. So go out, buy your Chinook seeds. Let's move back to SEC ball. One close to home for you here, AJ. Oklahoma 8, South Carolina 5. Kyson Witherspoon gets his 5th win now. He's now 5-0 on the season. Oklahoma starts off SEC play well. They score 4 in the first and really never looked back, even though South Carolina was trying to make a push for this against that Oklahoma bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon Stone for South Carolina gets his first start. Friday night SEC. Welcome to the show, basically. After having some really good relief performances, and Oklahoma just got to him early. Yeah, he grinded. He settled in. Ended up giving 5 runs over 5 innings, but the 4-run first. Really difficult to stomach. That's not how you want to start SEC ball, especially we know South Carolina's offense isn't the most powerful this year. Yeah, yes, you have Ethan Petrie. Yes, you have guys with power. Jace Woyda, Nathan Hall, they have power, but Petrie's kind of the only one whose power has manifested itself pretty consistently. Yeah. South Carolina yesterday, 12 hits, 11 singles, and a triple from a guy who your head coach says really is pretty light with the stick. So it just seemed really frustrating as a South Carolina fan watching that game. There were 3 different innings where South Carolina went single to lead off an inning, double play, single right after. And you're just sitting there going, okay, we have all these hits, but they're not we're not stringing them together. Really hard to do against Kyson Witherspoon and that Oklahoma bullpen. Managed to fight back a little bit, but 3 solo homers for Oklahoma ended up being the difference, and those came out of 7, 8, and 9. Like, that's a deep lineup. They have some pop, but it's just a dangerous athletic lineup. They spray the ball all over the field. They find barrels. They steal bases. It's a very dangerous Oklahoma offense, and you can't afford to be chasing them the entire game.
Can't afford to go down 4-0 in the first. Like, that's just not where you want to start, especially at home to start SEC play. As you mentioned, Harris, Taki, and Willis all home run for the Sooners. They have some damage up and down the lineup, but this Oklahoma offense is not going to necessarily beat you with the sticks. They want to beat you with pitching and bullpen. And they got after Witherspoon a little bit. I think the 3 runs we talked about might have been the most he's given up this season. SC can do it. They can come back and win this series, no problem. But they really got to start getting some extra base hits. They got to get something going in their slugging. Vanderbilt 2, Auburn 6. The Vastine home run there in the third was all the offense Vandy would get, as Auburn scores 5 in the third and 1 in the sixth. Samuel Dutton looking the part of a Friday night ace here. 7 innings pitched, 6 earned runs, or 6 hits, 2 earned runs. He looked really good after that home run there, AJ.
Yeah, and we recognize that Vanderbilt's not the most explosive offense, but they still take good professional at bats. You still have to make your pitches and execute, and they're not going to help you out any. And Sam Dutton, bounced back from that homer, and gave his offense a chance to get him, back in position for the win, and then just continued to pitch 7 quality innings. And it really felt like, once Auburn had that big inning, that it was like, okay, if Sam Dutton can go out and throw a 0 after this, they're in control of the game. And he just did exactly that. The one thing that you can't do against a team like Vanderbilt is allow them to keep responding offensively. And Dutton just completely shut down Vanderbilt, let his offense keep tacking on runs without giving the Commodores a chance to make up any ground. That was very impressive pitching performance, especially on a Friday night stage starting off SEC play.
And especially with no Ike Irish in that lineup there. And we don't know how long he's going to be out for, but that's a big hit for Auburn. But to go out there and win this first one against a team that's ranked in a lot of people's top 15s there for Vanderbilt, great win there for Auburn, and good to see. And it doesn't get any easier pitching-wise, because now you get Fisher going today for Auburn against that Vanderbilt team. It's been a concern all preseason, all season thus far. Johnson has been a lot of offense for Vanderbilt, but it feels like they're just missing a little bit of that power that they've had in past seasons, and they got to really figure out how to score runs. But big win for Auburn in that first one. Team that has no lack of power, Alabama 6, A&M 4. All 6 runs from Bama come from the long balls. 4 home runs, including 2 in the top 9th there. Win it for Alabama. Big road game. Shot hit that home run in the bottom of the 8th, and you're like, okay, A&M's back. They're going to figure out a way to come back and win this game at home. They're going to do something here. The 2 home runs from Norton and Snell in the top of the 9th just felt weird, AJ. It felt weird to look at that, see that they just were going to give up 2 home runs on the top of the 9th.
Yeah, it felt weird. It felt weird that Alabama was able to score all their runs via the homer and not have Justin LeBron be part of that.
Oh, like 4 for him, very surprising.
Yeah, but to have the rest of the offense continue to be that deep. But watching that game last night, watching those highlights, you felt the energy, and then as soon as the first home run in the 9th left the bat, you just heard the entire ballpark just go quiet. Yeah. And then somehow it was like a soundproof room when the second one left the bat, because there was just no sound at all. It was really, really weird to watch that environment. This is one of those cases where there's nothing guaranteed in baseball. Like, yes, the roster's all lined up to be successful. You have all this talent, but you still got to go out there and play whoever shows up against you. And whoever shows up against you is giving their best effort and playing clean baseball and not giving you chances to, blow them out of the game, making you win the game. It's a lot harder. Yeah. And, you're replacing guys with a winning culture. You're replacing guys who fit very key roles. And, we've seen that they're not winning the close games like they did last year at this point.
Yeah, I think that the season's still well ahead of A&M. They're fine. They have plenty of room in front of them. But They got to start making this turn, and you really thought maybe this is how they do it this weekend against Alabama, who's a hot team, been playing really good. They haven't necessarily played the best competition as of yet, but they keep winning games, and it's like,
Mhm.
I don't care who you put in front of them. If they're going to win games, you got to start ranking them higher and higher and higher. And this Alabama team just continues to win. And like you said, their superstar LeBron, Justin LeBron, didn't even get a hit yesterday, and they still go out and win it on the road at A&M, which is a very difficult ballpark to play in.
Yeah, it seems like Alabama's almost a victim of their own success because it's like, oh, Alabama's killing this team. That team must not be very good. Instead of realizing that, hold on, maybe this Alabama team is better than everyone thinks. So maybe we should give them the credit instead of consistently knocking whoever they're beating.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, there's just guys up and down that Alabama lineup that seem to be able to get hits when they need them, and they're hitting the long ball. They're really slugging the ball this year, and it's tremendous. Even against guys like Ryan Prager, who are going out there and good stuff for them on for A&M, and just not enough as Alabama comes back to win this one. And it really surprising that A&M just can't find more offense. I know that they're missing Grahovic. I know that they're missing Sorrell. They're missing some other guys, but they got to figure out a way to get some offense going. Maybe today's the day A&M makes that turn, but so far it's been underperforming this season. Troy 4, Louisiana 3. Big series here in the Sun Belt. I mean, this is big getting after it here. Pair of home runs from Bryan in the third and Darnell in the fourth provide all the offense for Troy as they go on a road to win this one here. The pitching for Troy holds Louisiana to just 4 hits on the day, and Garrett Gaines now 3-0 and 3 innings of hitless ball from Colby Frida. Troy just keeps finding ways to win, and they've played a lot of good teams in those midweeks also.
They have, and you look and you're like, okay, maybe their record isn't the record of an elite team, but who they've played is very, very good competition.
Yeah.
They're testing themselves early. They're preparing themselves for the gauntlet of conference play. They're setting themselves up to succeed over the stretch of the season that really, really matters. And continuing to pitch well. The offense is doing just enough at times. And when the pitching isn't doing as well as it could, the offense seems to be picking it up. Playing very good complementary baseball right now. Skylar Beat has those guys kind of engineered to win. I wouldn't be surprised if we look up at the end of the year and they're one of the fridge hosting seeds, but this is not a team I would want to go play. Definitely not a team that I would want to be a regional host and see them as my 2 seed. That would be very upsetting.
That's what I keep looking at. So I'm like, they're somewhere in my 16 to 25. They have been all season long. And I'm like, do you really want them to be a 2 seed that shows up knocking at your door? I mean, I know there's a lot of good teams out there, but this team keeps finding ways to win. They have a good senior leadership. They have a team that's really built to win right now. And they believe in themselves, and they keep going out there and winning baseball games, and they do it different ways. Some days it's with the offense, some days it's with the pitching. I really like them. They're a complete team. Keeping an eye on them moving forward. Another mid-major team that's been playing very well goes down to Corvallis and loses. Grand Canyon 4, Oregon State 6. This was 6-0 as we were heading into the 8th inning, and Grand Canyon finally battles back to get 4 there. Tremendous start from Nelson Keljo. I will say, for a team coming from Arizona, when it's 34 and pouring rain and 20-mile-an-hour wind in your face where you can't hit the ball out, that's a tough ask to go up there and beat Oregon State in Corvallis, in Goss Stadium, when it's that miserable.
I mean, it's a tough ask to go and try to beat Oregon State when it's 70 degrees and you're inside and everything's controlled. Like, that's just a very good Oregon State team. But when you add in the weather, it's something that Oregon State's prepared for. Like, I guarantee you they walked outside in that and they were like, oh, this is better than half of the weather we had over the past 3 to 6 months. Yeah, it doesn't, not that it doesn't bother them, but if you look at the scale of what they are comfortable playing in, they're definitely more comfortable playing in that than Grand Canyon coming up and trying to play. But really, when you take into consideration the weather and everything, it wasn't too poorly played of a game.
Yeah.
It just seemed like, the at-bats were just a little bit more comfortable for Oregon State, able to do a little bit more damage at the plate. The pitching staff just kind of let the elements work in their favor. And, Oregon State, again, I know they're top 10 in a lot of different polls, but it seems like one of those under radar top 10 teams. They're like 13-3. Nothing particularly jumps out to like, oh, they have an elite level pitching staff, an elite level offense. But overall, I think they're an elite level team.
Just very solid. Guys like Easton Talt have gotten roles now. He goes out there, gets a 2 RBI single, and Turley hits an RBI double. And then the Caraway, they got 5 guys that are projected to go in the first 2 rounds of the draft. And they haven't really been massive this far in the season, but they've been really good and just steady. And Caraway's one of those guys, and he got another home run. I don't know how he hit it through that wind and rain, but he smoked that ball. And there's a reason why people are thinking he's the top 20 pick. But that was just enough there for them. And Grand Canyon gets 4 in the 8th there on some walks and an error. But Nelson Kelcho, 6 innings, 5 hits, 0 runs there. Great start for them. And really a tremendous effort there from Oregon State all weekend. So, but this weird weekend now they play Santa Clara and then they play Grand Canyon again. So this independent schedule has been pieced together, but they're finding opponents to play. Arizona State 2, TCU 3. I don't think that this is the score any of us thought was going to come from this game. I thought we were going to see a huge high-scoring affair down there in TCU, and 2-run bomb from Franco in the second there for TCU, followed by a couple ugly runs for Arizona State. They really didn't do anything spectacular there. And then it's fielder's choice in the fourth for Strauss-Snyder. That's it. That Braden Sloan comes in throws 4 perfect innings for TCU and completely shuts down this Arizona State team that's been hot on offense.
You almost need that caliber of pitching to shut down that offense right now. It on both sides of the ball, it really felt like they only played like half a game offensively. And then the pitchers just kind of were like, okay, we're going to go and just get our work in and just shove. Because it really, there were some chances later on in the game, but it never really felt like, either team was going to do more damage. Like the pitching staffs were just in such control.
Yeah.
I really, really, really impressed by TCU's ability to bounce back from a couple struggles earlier on in the year and set themselves up both offensively and pitching to make some noise in the Big 12. I'm very comfortable in saying that TCU baseball is on its way back. I know they kind of had a couple down years, but with performances like this, with the roster that they have, continuing to handle business. I know they lost a series to Southern Miss, but that's a very good Southern Miss team.
Yeah.
I have high expectations for this TCU team. They're one of my top 3 teams in Texas right now.
And they're still trying to find a weekend rotation, right? They lost 2 guys that are their Friday, Saturday guys, and you're saying we got to replace these guys and figure this out in short season. They've started to do it. They figured it out. I think Braden Sloan being in the bullpen has been huge for them. He's been really, really good. TCU continues to impress, but holding a team like Arizona State down in a Big 12 matchup where you're talking about a team, both these squads want to win the Big 12 and be in competition for it. Big win there. Big win to go out there and win your home opener there for TCU, and good job there holding that Arizona State. Arizona State just had 6 hits on the day, which is not typical of what they've done so far this season. Duke 1, Stanford 5. Wallace Clark double RBI in the third. You're like, okay, Duke's getting going again. Here's the offense. No, that's it. They would only get 4 hits on the day. Matt Scott is now 4-0, 6 innings pitched, just 3 hits, 1 earned, and 8 Ks. He's been a Friday night ace for this Stanford club. I know I screamed it a lot in the preseason, AJ, that I said that this is an Omaha caliber team. Stanford just keeps finding ways to win. Nobody had 2 hits in that game for Stanford, but they go out and they get a bunch of singles. They get a home run from Charlie Somm to take the lead, and that's all they would ever need.
Yeah, and this is as good as Stanford is playing. They are a very talented team. I've been with you on they've been underrated. I've had them probably in 18 to 15 range for a while, but Duke, what is going on? It seems like you have Wallace Clark and you have Ben Miller, and those are kind of your 2 offensive pieces that you can rely on. Everyone else has just kind of been completely hit or miss. Pitching staff hasn't been able to do much. I watched Stanford just small ball Duke into oblivion yesterday, just not executing defensive plays. And, I feel bad as someone who picked Duke to go to Omaha. I believed in that team that deeply. They still have the talent to turn it around, but the style of baseball they're playing is not successful. And then when you have to go up against a true Friday night ace all the way across the country and just get dominated, that you can't feel good about how yesterday unfolded in any way. And it's hard to come back and win a series when you get kind of just utterly manhandled on a Friday.
It feels weird when you look at a Duke team with Pollard, head coach, great staff, and you look around and you go, they just don't feel like they have an identity this far in the season. It feels like they have just really, really struggled to find themselves and put themselves in a position to win baseball games. They ended up winning a couple after losing the opening one to Cal last weekend at home. they can still go out there and they can still win a couple at Stanford. I mean, they're a very good baseball team that could go out there and win these games. But the way they looked yesterday, Stanford really didn't even have its best day offensively and never looked like they were in trouble in that whole baseball game. I mean, it just never felt like Stanford was going to lose that game, even when they were down 1-0. It just felt Stanford was going to figure out a way to come back, and Duke just never really put up a fight at any point in that game. The 4 hits are just not going to be enough in ACC play, and especially when you have to travel across the country like that. I'm sure it's not easy, but they're going to have to try to figure out something. I'm sure Pollard's going to do something to get this team going here in this next day. Wake Forest in Miami. Yes, Canes, Cats, Heat. How can we turn the momentum to make me look smart? Because I did take Miami in this series. I've been questioning Wake's offense for all season so far. Man, they just keep figuring out ways to score runs. When a 2-run home run in the first, you're like, all right, that's something. And then Wentz goes out and hits a solo shot in the second, and then a grand slam from Houston in the fourth. And it's like, now you're down 7-0 in the fourth, and really nothing for Miami. Just 3 hits on the day for the Hurricane. Logan Lunsford has been terrific. 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, 8 Ks in the win there, AJ.
Yeah, Logan Lunsford might have been the most underrated ad, coming over from Missouri and then just going into the Wake pitching lab and coming out a true ace. That would be the Friday guy on kind of all but like 4 or 5 teams with how he's pitching this year. It's unreal stuff. And then Merrick Houston just continuing to just shove, just demolish it. Like, he's one of those guys, you step up at the plate, and on the mound, you turn around and you're like, okay, how many guys are on base? How much damage can he do this time? And when he comes up with the bases loaded, you're just kind of like, do I give this guy the Barry Bonds treatment at this point? Because he's been utterly unreal. He's not only hitting homers, he's driving guys in with extra base hits, clutch hitting. He can almost carry the offense himself, and he's not having to, which is utterly insane. I saw you were the only one to pick Miami.
Yeah.
And you were kind of getting some flack for it. I respect you going out on a limb. And also, Wake Forest fans should respect you for not jinxing the team.
That was the thing. We looked up and I was like, is everybody going to take Wake? I'm like, I feel like I got to do something different here. And I believe in this Miami team. I think that they have one of the most improved bullpens from a season ago. I think that's their strong point. I think they're going to be fine. I think they come out here. It's a doubleheader today. It is hard to win both in a doubleheader. Yeah, I agree with that. They could do it, though. I mean, it's not like this is incapable of winning these ball games there at Wake. Wake's very good. I mean, they still got dudes on the mound to go. But we're going to see what happens here in this doubleheader. I mean, again, it's hard to win both of a doubleheader. So if Miami wins the first one today, you never know what's going to happen in that third game of the series. But congrats to Wake just coming out and just continuing to provide offense when I kept saying why I didn't have them in my top 25 for a few weeks because of the offense. Well, they've shown that they're going to have some offense this year. No worries there. A game that had almost no offense, that was probably late for you there, AJ. I think it started at almost midnight your time. UCSB 2, Hawaii 1, Big West matchup here. Isaac Kim gets a sac fly and an RBI single. That's all the offense for UCSB. Nahoko for Hawaii gets the home run. But really, it was the deal of a pitching duel. It was a pitching duel between Tyler Brimner and Takamoto. Great outings for both guys, but somebody had to lose this one. Brimner gets the win there. Just the 4 hits, 1 earned run, and 8 Ks.
Yeah, I mean, if you're telling me I'm gonna be in a pitching duel, Tyler Bremner's on my short list of guys who I want on my side. Yeah. I mean, ERA just above 2, WHIP under 1, and he just goes and keeps your team in the game. He keeps them off the bases, keeps runs from scoring. I don't think a single team's had a big inning against him yet this year. And that's what you want, especially going on the road to Hawaii. That's even for California schools. That's a longer trip.
Yeah,
you gotta, and those fans there, they create a pretty good environment. Like, they live and breathe Hawaii baseball out there. One of the best run productions, like for game broadcast production. Yeah. Like it is. They lean into it out there. The program's invested. There's momentum behind it. They're really good pitching team as well. So the offense has to go out and execute, and that can put a lot of pressure on Bremner going out there and knowing that, hey, if I give up 3, my offense might not get 3 today. And to consistently go out there and hold down offenses like that is incredibly impressive. And I think that's why a lot of people right now have a lot of faith in this UCSB team.
Yeah, I've said it from the preseason. I had them high. I think they're the best mid-major team. I think that they do a lot of things pitching wise. They got to find offense, but Itsaku Takamoto, he's a really tremendous, great pitcher. He's a great pitcher. So to go out there in this one and only get two, don't worry yourselves, UCSB. I think Hawaii is a very good ball club. I kept putting them in my top 25 for a while this season as they kept finding ways to win. Didn't do it last night. Donovan Jackson there for UCSB also comes in relief. 3 innings of hitless ball and 3 strikeouts. It was really the difference was him shutting down that lineup and not allowing them a chance to get back in this ball game. UTSA 3, Dallas Baptist 14, another team that maybe people think may be the best mid-major. 5 homers, man. DBU powers its way past. Tausig hits all 3 RBI for UTSA with a single in the first, and then they get a home run in the third. But Kraus, Poole, Datalo, Bennett, Humphrey, they all hit huge home runs in this game for DBU.
Yeah, and it was just, I mean, I was going to say it if you didn't, like this and the Dallas Baptist and UCSB are the two teams who I think are in their own tier with mid-major teams. Then you have, Southern Miss and Troy and some other really, really good programs that are trying to put themselves in that conversation as well. But two completely different styles of play. DBU will go and just outslug you. And then to have, Micah Bucknam go out and shove yesterday and be able to throw, yes, it was a shortened game, but it was a 7-inning complete game. I mean, an unreal offensive production. Dallas Baptist, I one of those teams that you just inherently trust to produce and trust to be in games and trust to win. Coaching staff is the best at maximizing the talent and players they have. Grant J, one of the most dangerous offensive threats. I love this Dallas Baptist team. I'm very, very keyed in on what they do throughout the year. I would really, really hope that when regional time comes around, that they don't do something dumb and pair up like a UCSB and Dallas Baptist to meet in the Super. Let these two guys, try to run through some Power 4 teams to get to Omaha. Let's see some more mid-major representation in Omaha, and I think these are two teams that can definitely do that.
At this point in the season, you'd be looking at like DBU traveling to Texas and Texas being the host school and then DBU being the 2 seed, which would be a tremendous matchup. We'd love to see that, I think. All right. Our favorite segment in all of the weekend rotation is always something cool. And AJ and I talked about this at pre-show, and it's just something that's been on our minds for a couple of years now. Parker Bird from East Carolina had a tragic accident where he lost his leg months before joining ECU and being a part of that baseball program. They kept him on the program. Guy's been playing on a manufactured leg. He goes out there and gets his first collegiate base hit last night. He had an RBI last weekend on a sac fly. Goes out there and gets his first hit. Tremendous, tremendous thing. And I think that all of us were just celebrating that. We didn't want to put anything else against this for something cool because Parker Bird getting his first hit after facing all this adversity in his life and being able to come out there and do this thing's a huge thing, AJ.
Yeah, I mean, one of those stories that you hope is able to come to fruition. You don't want to put him in a situation where he's basically set up to fail, or it feels like he's being put in there just because of the situation that he's unfortunately in. But he's one of those guys who was going to be a very, very, very good player for them had this accident not occurred. Yeah. And to have the fortitude to stick with that and to continue to be around the team and to be a part of that team and see how much his teammates love him and how much they support him, how much the fan base has rallied around him and continue to be behind him for the past 3 years. It has truly been inspiring. And then to see him earn that opportunity to go into the game and, last weekend earn that opportunity, get his first RBI with the sac fly, this or yesterday, earn the opportunity and then get his first hit. I think inspiring just hits the nail on the head with everything he's been through and what he's continued to do. And then to see him, being pinch run for at first base, coming off and seeing all the guys pour out of the dugout and the standing ovation from all the fans there at East Carolina. You're right. There was nothing we could put in comparison to this that would have been fair. And I think there were many people who were trying to keep it together, seeing how emotional that moment was.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Cliff Godwin's a great coach. He's not going to just throw somebody out there. Parker Bird has shown himself every single day in practice. He's worked hard. He's done all the things right. Um, he's really a big part of this ECU ball club, and it has everything to do with his work ethic and ability versus it being a nice story. Nobody cares. I mean, it's cool. It's a great story. We care about that part of it, but that's not why he's on this baseball team. It's because he can contribute and do things like this. Huge effort for him there. Love to see it. He's just getting better and more used to that prosthetic, and I think that we're going to see some more things from this young man this season. Parker Bird, congratulations on your first career hit, man. Biggest SEC series to keep an eye on. There's a lot. There's some things that happened so far this weekend. AJ, where are you going?
I mean, for me, it's hard not to go to Florida, Tennessee. You have Florida who went and gave Florida State their first loss, and then they're rolling into Tennessee to potentially knock off the last undefeated team. They play a very, very, very competitive game last night, and it feels like you just set up for three very competitive games. Whoever wins that series feels like, they have a leg up on almost the rest of the SEC. But you're right, there are multiple different ways you can go with this, depending on if you're looking at storylines, the best teams playing each other. It's. I know you probably have a list of a couple, but I'm also gonna mention the Alabama A&M series because it's like Alabama completely trending the right direction, A&M completely trending the wrong direction. Can Alabama continue doing that? Does A&M turn it around? It's at A&M. You'd think they have a shot, and they did have a shot.
Yeah.
But it just seems like they don't have that not necessarily the confidence, but they haven't learned how to win as a team yet this year. And as much as that is coach speak, it does matter. Alabama has come behind a couple different times and has pulled out some close wins. Texas A&M, not so much. Came to fruition again last night. Is Texas A&M going to be able to turn it around? They still have plenty of time. They've played one SEC game, but definitely something to keep an eye on this series.
I love that. I think that's a big one there is Bama at A&M. But I'm also going to go to one where a team that's surprised all of us, Ole Miss. Like, this is a team that we thought maybe last year they were going to make that step forward and be back in the conversation. They've done that this year, and Hunter Elliott's been the biggest reason for that, right? Friday night, he's given them an opportunity to win every single Friday night against some very good teams. Arkansas has got to figure out a way to win Fridays, but now they have to win the Saturday, Sunday, right? So now they got to win 2 games here, and it's a road series. It's never easy to win on the road. Road series are always difficult in SEC play in every conference, but really SEC and ACC is the hardest. So you're asking Arkansas to go out there and win the next 2. I think that they can. I think that the offense can get going. Brent Iredale, like we talked about, he didn't have anything yesterday. It wasn't his day. He's a guy that's going to produce for them. The Eloy boys, they're going to produce. I think that Arkansas finds a way to win the next 2, but a really good performance from Ole Miss. And then Vanderbilt and Auburn. Butch Thompson just continues to find ways to get wins, and he doesn't miss the tournament in back-to-back seasons. This Auburn team feels like it's going to find its way back in there. They're going to be on that fringe hosting again. And this is with no Ike Irish, who's the best player maybe in the country behind the dish, and definitely at least for Auburn. And they go out and find a way to beat Vanderbilt at home. If they can win this series, it puts them in a very good place for the SEC this season. Who's your Golden Spikes front runner and your surprise? You can do them in either order, but I want to know who your surprise of the season so far this season, and who's been the front runner who's just continued to pour it on for you.
Yeah, so I'm going to go front runner first, and then I'm going to let you answer those next 2.
Okay.
So that I can take who maybe you have for front running, you can take who maybe I have for surprise. But Justin LeBron has just been tearing the absolute cover off the ball. Like you said earlier, his 0 for 4 game was just a complete anomaly for how he's played this entire season. I think he's leading the country in RBIs and home runs as a shortstop. And he's a massive reason that Alabama is sitting there with the record they are, only 1 loss. It's truly insane just to watch him on a day-to-day basis, how he carries himself, how much he just finds the barrel at the plate, how much it seems like there's always guys on for him to do damage, how much he's coming up clutch. It's Alabama is a very, very hard team to beat with how they're playing and with how he is playing specifically. You have to play nearly perfect baseball to even hope to send him back to the dugout now. He's hitting at an unreal clip, fielding his position very well, kind of exactly what most teams hope that they have at some point in their lifetime out of their shortstop.
Yeah, he's a once in a generation shortstop for Alabama. That's just there's no comparison to what he's doing right now as a shortstop. I'm gonna go with Gavin Keelan from Tennessee. I mean, transfer in, People are like, okay, he's going to be good. He's been elite for them, and he's come back, and he didn't have the huge start that you were hoping for in those first few games. Then all of a sudden, he's come alive and he's hitting 450, 8 home runs, 23 RBIs, and you're turning around going, Tennessee's still undefeated. They're 18-0, and he's a big part of it. And if they continue to have success, and he does continue to have success, I don't see any way that they keep him out of the top three when it comes down to the award finalists. My surprise is Merrick Houston from Wake. As I kept saying, Wake needs to find offense. Wake needs to find offense. 406, 7 home runs, 34 RBIs. This guy just continues to produce for Wake. I don't know if he can keep this up all season, AJ, but what a start for this young man going out there and giving Wake Forest the offense it needs.
Yeah, I mean he's been unreal. It kind of went on a little bit of a rant earlier about how he's just the guy who does damage for them now, and it seems like they were kind of missing that guy last year, and this year he's completely embraced that role. He's just been unreal. But my kind of dark horse surprise guy, we mentioned him earlier as well. Rylan Zaborowski. He is, older guy transferring in from Miami, Ohio, formerly of Grand Canyon, and he only hit 10 homers for Miami, Ohio last year. And so you're thinking, okay, experienced guy will give you professional at bats. Well,
Yeah.
here he is, 17 games into the year, 11 homers, hitting 429. Just loving playing at Georgia. That lineup is so dangerous, and you're having to pitch to him. He's proving he can do damage. He's doing damage at an unbelievable rate. It seems like he's just feeding the trees on a daily basis out there. It's unreal. We kind of expected maybe the Georgia lineup that Trey Phelps would be
Yeah.
the focal piece, but there have been Robbie Burnett's almost right there alongside that conversation with them of, depending on the game, feels like either Ryland or Robbie or both are coming up with a big hit, hitting a big home run to either take the lead or get him back in the game. It's unreal offense in Georgia, but I mean, Ryland's my definitely surprise guy of, I'm not surprised because the talent was there. I'm surprised that he's kind of become the face of the offense, and been able to perform like he has all season.
Yeah, I am surprised at the home run numbers. I thought that he'd come in. I thought maybe he'd hit high 300s, and give this team something that they needed to get on base and be that kind of guy that gives Trey Phelps the chance to hit all these home runs. He's been the guy. He's been the focal point. He's really done a tremendous job so far this season for Georgia, and they've found ways to win, and a lot of it's been offense. So awesome to see. All right. I know we're getting to the end of March already. I mean, we're halfway through March now, so we start making that talk about who's an Omaha favorite. Who do you like so far this season to maybe make that jump and stay in Omaha?
To stay in Omaha or to win it all?
I'm not going with win it all. It's a little early for me to say that there's a team out there that's so much better that they're going to win the whole thing.
Okay,
But
thank you.
who's a team that
Thank
you
you.
think can get to Omaha and really is playing right now like they belong there today?
Yeah, so I kind of look at two teams that I had picked preseason who I'm like, okay, I truly think that these are the two teams who I think are playing the best ball right now. Um, Tennessee and LSU. I think it's, yeah, they're kind of safer picks for Omaha, but people were kind of, wondering why Tennessee, they're replacing a lot offensively, they're replacing a lot on the mound, but the talent's been so deep. We've seen them just continue to execute relentless on both sides of the ball. LSU, basically the same thing, except they return guys with probably a little bit more experience. So it just two teams who I would not want to have to face right now. I definitely don't want to have to play in those environments to try to get to Omaha, because both of those teams are going to be playing at home in the regionals and in the super regionals. I just two completely just deep, talented, loaded rosters, two very good coaches. I have the complete belief that both of those teams will make Omaha at this point, unless something happens and one of them has to go to the other to match up in a super regional.
Those were two of my teams that I picked in the preseason for Omaha, and there's a reason why I had them both in my top five this season to start the season. I had question marks about the offense for Tennessee; those have washed away. The pitching is. I know it's crazy to say that the pitching's better than it was a season ago when they just won a national championship. It is. It's a better pitching staff overall that Tony V has there. and now the offense is kicking. Like, my goodness, I don't see a way that you could not have them penciled in right now. I'm going to go out there and throw another team at you that I think has been a surprise, and it's been in a good way. Florida State. They've gone out there and really done big things. They lost the one game, their first game of the season, to Florida. Midweek, okay. Florida's a very good baseball team, not a bad loss. They're missing some pitching right now that if they get back, I don't see how you don't pencil them into Omaha because of the talent that they're going out there and winning games with right now. And you're talking about a team that just keeps finding ways to win. And with a lack of the pitching staff that they thought that they might have, if they get Jamie Arnold back full strength and Cam Leiter back full strength, you're talking about a team that has a 1-2 punch that might be the best in the country. And neither one of them have thrown the last couple weeks. So this is crazy. I'm going to lean on Florida State. I think that just where they are and where I see them going, they're a team that I have to pencil in for Omaha if they can get healthy.
Florida State's offense might be one of the most fun to watch because they take every single swing like they're trying to hit it 550 feet, and they're actually finding barrels at a good rate. It's not like they're just swinging and missing and taking unreasonable at bats. I love watching this Florida State team. The only reason I didn't include them was because of what does your record look like when you don't have Arnold, but you don't have Leiter. Like, you might drop a couple of conference games here or there. But I did pick them preseason for Omaha, and I would. Yeah. If I had to put my money on it right now, I would still bet that they would make Omaha. Very, very talented lineup. If anything, having those two guys goes out is giving exposure to more guys to give them a chance that you'll need to lean on, in your, winner take all game of a regional or in game 3 of a super when you've thrown most of your guys. Like, it sets them up for success. I definitely, Florida State this year feels like you're watching. Like, it feels like my guilty pleasure to watch, of just like, I'm going to go watch these guys just destroy whoever they're playing and not feel bad about it.
And they got a good mix of leadership guys. They got a good mix of freshmen, and guys are getting opportunities right now and stepping up, and they really have. And that's the biggest thing I think Link Jarrett spoke on. He's like, guys are stepping into roles and they're fulfilling them. They're taking care of business, and maybe roles that we didn't have them set for in the preseason, and now they're stepping into them and they're doing tremendous jobs. So it's a fun team to watch, and they're a team that's quietly only has one loss on the season. They've really taken care of business. So awesome. Final thoughts, AJ, as we head into the rest of this weekend on opening SEC ball.
Yeah, so very locked in on some of the game 2s going on today, but also keeping a part of my heart open for the storms rolling through, the tornadoes going to be rolling through parts of the southeast today. Some games have already been canceled. Also, some wildfires going on in Oklahoma caused some games to be canceled there. Just stay safe, and get to where you can enjoy ball when the weather clears up. But baseball and sports are secondary to staying safe and keeping family safe, and do whatever y'all need to do to be able to keep property and everything stable. Hope everyone makes it through okay.
Yeah, stay safe out there. Listen, we love the game of college baseball, but taking care of yourself is priority one. So go out there, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and go enjoy some college baseball over the weekend. So thanks again for joining us on the Weekend Rotation. I'm Mark Garland, AJ Sessions. We join you every single Saturday morning, so come back and see us Saturday mornings at 8 a.m.